Before you can truly become a good woman or a good mother, there is one truth that you have to embrace completely. You must start with self-respect. Because without self-respect, every act of love turns into a sacrifice. Every moment of giving becomes draining, and every relationship feels like a battlefield. You see, being a good woman is not about how much you can give until you're empty. It's about how deeply you value yourself before you give. Because if you don't value your own heart, your own worth, and your own needs, how can you expect anyone else, including your children, to learn how to value theirs? A respected woman raises a respected child, a woman who holds her head high, speaks with intention, and walks with purpose, teaches her children silently how to do the same. The first lesson a child learns is from the way their mother treats herself. If you constantly put yourself last, they'll grow up thinking they have to do the same. But when you love yourself openly and unapologetically, you give them permission to love themselves too. And part of that self-respect is embracing your feminine strength, not just your ability to endure pain or carry burdens in silence. A good woman isn't just someone who holds everything together while falling apart on the inside. That's not strength, that's survival. You have a strength that doesn't scream. It whispers. It doesn't always fight. Sometimes it lets go. And that's the kind of strength that builds homes, not just households. That's the kind of strength that raises emotionally balanced children. You're not raising soldiers, you're raising souls. But here's something most women forget. You don't have to be perfect to be powerful. A lot of mothers fall into the trap of thinking they must be everything, every time, for everyone. But your child doesn't need a perfect mother. They need a present one. Your presence matters far more than your performance. Being there in your realness, in your honesty, even in your mess, that's what creates deep emotional bonds. Don't try to be the mother in the books or on the perfect Instagram page. Just be the one who shows up when it matters. The one who listens. The one who apologizes when she's wrong. The one who laughs with them, cries with them, grows with them. That's what they'll remember. Not the clean house, not the perfectly packed lunch, not the filtered smiles, but the way you made them feel seen, safe, and loved. And even when you make mistakes, because you will, those mistakes don't disqualify you from being a good mother. In fact, how you handle your mistakes might be the most powerful lesson of all. When you own your flaws, you teach them how to own theirs. So start with self-respect, embrace your emotional strength, and remember your child doesn't need you to be perfect, they need you to be real. You don't have to be loud to lead. One of the most powerful truths of motherhood is this: your child learns more from what you do than what you say. You can tell them to be kind, respectful, patient, and honest. But if your actions don't mirror those words, they'll follow your behavior, not your instructions. This is why modeling is more impactful than preaching. If you want your child to handle frustration calmly, they need to see you do it. If you want them to stand up for themselves, they need to see you setting boundaries with others. If you want them to believe in their worth, they have to see you treat yourself like someone who matters. Children don't just grow up by what they're taught. They grow up by what they witness. Your patience becomes their calm. Your discipline becomes their focus. Your tone becomes their inner voice. And here's the thing, you don't have to be perfect in this either. You just have to be consistent. Every time you choose to model strength, respect, or compassion, you're planting seeds. And those seeds grow even if you don't see them immediately. Now, part of being a good mother is also about nurturing with boundaries. It's easy to think that love means always saying yes, always giving, always being available. But real love doesn't look like sacrifice at the cost of your identity. It looks like healthy, clear, loving boundaries. Children feel safest when they know where the lines are. Boundaries give them structure, emotional safety, and clarity. When a mother says no with calm confidence, she is not being cold, she is being strong. She's teaching her child how to say no to things that are not right for them. She's teaching them how to protect their own peace. And the truth is, children who grow up with loving boundaries often grow up to be more self-disciplined, emotionally stable, and secure in themselves. They learn that love is not indulgence, it's presence, protection, and truth. And that lesson stays with them far longer than any gift or privilege ever could. But boundaries aren't just for your children. They're for you too. You need to protect your energy, your mental space, your peace, because a burnt-out woman cannot be a whole mother. A woman who constantly gives without protecting her own spirit slowly disappears. And your children deserve all of you, not what's left of you. And this leads us to one of the deepest truths most people avoid. Your emotional maturity shapes the emotional climate of your entire home. Your reactions, your tone, your energy, they set the rhythm for everyone around you. If you're always anxious, frustrated, or emotionally unstable, it creates confusion in the hearts of your children. But when you lead from a place of calm strength, even when things aren't perfect, your child learns how to stay grounded in the chaos. Healing your emotional wounds is not just for you, it's for your children. Because if you don't deal with your pain, it will spill onto them. What you suppress becomes what they absorb. What you ignore becomes what they inherit. So take the time to work on your emotional health, learn how to regulate, how to communicate, how to calm the storms within you. Your child doesn't need a mother who never struggles. They need a mother who learns how to struggle wisely. Because emotional maturity isn't about being emotionless. It's about being aware, being in control, and being able to lead your heart even when it's breaking. That's the kind of woman who raises emotionally resilient children. That's the kind of woman who becomes the foundation of a family, not just in words, but in presence. And that is where true motherhood begins, in presence, in boundaries, and in emotional wisdom. You see, a lot of women get stuck in the belief that once you become a mother, your story is over, that your purpose now is only to serve, to give, to sacrifice. But that's a dangerous narrative, not only because it leads to emotional burnout, but because your child ends up thinking that adulthood means giving up on your own dreams. When you commit to growing, to learning, evolving, healing, you don't just enrich your own life. You teach your child that growth is always possible. You show them that mistakes are not the end, they're lessons, that failure isn't a wall, it's a doorway, that even mothers are still students of life. And that lesson is more powerful than any rule or routine you could ever impose. But as you pour into others, don't forget, you are not just a mother, you are still a woman. And that identity must not be erased just because you've given birth. Too many women shrink themselves in the name of love. They stop dressing the way they like, stop dreaming, stop laughing out loud, all because they think good mothers disappear into their roles. But you don't serve your family by losing yourself. You serve them by being whole, by being alive, by being passionate, curious, and fulfilled. When your child sees you pursuing something that lights you up, whether it's writing, cooking, building a business, or simply taking care of your health, they learn that being a woman is a beautiful, dynamic thing. That love doesn't mean silence. That motherhood and womanhood can coexist, not as enemies, but as partners. You deserve to protect time for yourself, to say, I matter too. And that's not selfish, that's wisdom. Because when you nurture your own soul, you don't just feel better, you parent better. You speak with more kindness. You respond with more patience. You give from a place of fullness, not emptiness. And that changes the entire emotional temperature of your home. Now think about this. Your values, your beliefs, the principles you live by, these are not things you teach once. They are the background music of your child's life. You instill core values through consistent actions, not just words. If you want your child to be respectful, show them what respect looks like in everyday interactions, how you speak to your partner, how you treat a waiter, how you talk about others when they're not in the room. You want to teach kindness? Let them see you pause to help someone, offer a compliment, or show forgiveness. Want to teach honesty? Be honest even when it's uncomfortable. Tell the truth gently but firmly, and when you make a mistake, admit it. Say sorry. Repair the moment. That humility does more for their emotional development than 100 lectures. Create little rituals that reinforce these values. A simple moment at dinner to share one thing each person is grateful for. A bedtime habit of asking, what did you do today that you're proud of? These small things, they build a culture, they become the foundation of who your child believes they are. And remember, it's not about being strict or controlling, it's about being consistent. Children feel safe when expectations are clear, and when your actions match your words, when discipline comes with explanation, when correction comes with love. This is how values are not just taught, but lived. In the end, what you model becomes their internal voice, and what you value, they will carry with them long after they leave your arms. That's how you lead, not by force, not by fear, but by quiet, steady example. Every woman wants to raise a child with strong character, a kind heart, a respectful attitude, someone who stands tall in a world that often tries to pull people down. But here's what many don't realize. The values you live by become the values your child will carry, not what you preach, but what you practice. You can't expect a child to grow up valuing honesty if they constantly hear you bending the truth. You can't tell them to be respectful if they see you belittle others. Children don't grow into the values you speak. They absorb the values you live, quietly, consistently, day after day. And the most powerful part? They notice the little things more than the big gestures. They see how you react when you're frustrated, how you speak about someone who hurt you, how you treat people who can do nothing for you. Those are the moments when your real values shine through, and those are the moments that mold your child's soul. You don't need a perfect home to raise a grounded child. You need consistency, emotional stability, integrity in your actions. If your child watches you say thank you regularly, apologize when you're wrong, forgive even when it's hard, they learn that strength doesn't come from control, but from character. Now, let's talk about respect, one of the most fundamental values you can instill. Many parents demand respect, but few model it. The truth is, if you constantly shout, criticize harshly, or talk down to your child, they may obey you, but they won't respect you. Real respect is earned when you treat your child like a human being with emotions, not just someone to control. One day your child will be in situations where you're not there to guide them. And in those moments, it won't be your voice in their ear, it will be your values in their heart. That's why it matters how you treat others when no one is watching. That's why it matters how you speak when you're angry, or how you handle conflict when you feel wronged, because your child is always learning, especially when you think they're not. You also teach responsibility by how you carry yourself. If you clean up after yourself, follow through on promises, own your mistakes, they will too. But if you make excuses, blame others, or avoid accountability, they'll mirror that. Children are brilliant at copying, and they tend to copy the parts of us we wish they wouldn't. So the more conscious you are of your actions, the more intentional their character will become. You don't need grand lessons. You don't need perfect words. You just need to live your values consistently. Show them that love means truth. That being strong doesn't mean being cold. That respect goes both ways. And that kindness is never weakness. It's wisdom in action. Create an atmosphere in your home where values are lived, not enforced, where your child feels safe, not because they're scared of punishment, but because they know what's expected and why. Give them clarity, structure, and emotional honesty. Let them ask questions. Let them disagree respectfully. Let them grow into their own voice while rooted in your example. Because when you live your values daily, you won't have to worry about who your child is becoming. You'll already know they're becoming a reflection of the home you built, not through lectures, but through love lived out loud. That is how a good woman and mother creates not just a child, but a legacy.